Hi there, I'm Carrie. I teach high school gifted students, many of whom thrive in the STEM fields. I, however, come from a humanities background, as I was an English teacher for nearly 2 decades before shifting into gifted education. As a teacher whose background lies outside of STEM, I didn't expect to find myself enrolled in a computer programming course for my self-directed learning experience. However, for a few key reasons, I chose to go in a direction that was out of both my personal and professional wheelhouses. I was inspired to complete Codecademy's Learn Java course because I wanted to be able to engage with my STEM-minded students with more confidence and ease. I also wanted to model for my students exactly what I encouraged them to do when I urged them to take safe academic risks. This self-directed learning experience was challenging for me, but ultimately provided me with a meaningful learning experience that gave me confidence to try new things, even if they aren't my natural choice. If I'm being honest, I knew next to nothing about Java, although I do drink my fair share of coffee, which sadly didn't give me a leg up in this journey. Through Codecademy's Learn Java course, I quickly learned that Java is a programming language that powers a lot of the world around us, from mobile apps to web servers and beyond. This course went past learning syntax or writing loops. Fundamentally, it focused on how to break a problem into smaller parts, which is something that my non-STEM brain felt more capable of tackling. In this course, I dealt with handling failure, which there was a lot of, rethinking a problem, and approaching an issue from a new lens of understanding. It's been a while since I felt like a novice, and although this feeling was humbling, it was also refreshing. As far as the content in Codecademy's course goes, one of the biggest things I learned was object-oriented programming. At first, that concept felt abstract. Classes, objects, encapsulation. I knew what each of these words meant individually, but the contextual combination of them felt like a foreign language. But over time, it started to click. I started to see how Java's structure, classes that define objects, objects that interact, actually mirrored how we organize ideas in more familiar syntactical structures like in writing. I will say that the Learn Java course was segmented in a way that allowed me to revisit the lessons whenever I felt confused, which helped significantly when it came to me memorizing essential terms and processes. I also learned how to handle errors and debugging. One missing bracket or mistyped variable could break everything. This took some getting used to, but once I started to parallel these lessons with my understanding of grammar and syntax, I became a bit more comfortable with the concepts. As a whole, I found earning the certificate to be a challenge, but upon reflecting, I found myself leaning into my problem solving and creative thinking skills and applying them to this new set of knowledge I was developing. Reminding myself that I was uncomfortable because I was growing also helped keep me motivated to continue learning. As I mentioned earlier, I had a few goals for this experience. For one, I wanted to be able to connect with my students who are STEM-oriented. I will say that even though I don't feel like an expert when it comes to Java, I do think I could hold a conversation with my students or even tech-savvy peers and not feel completely lost. I also wanted to take a risk and model this type of learning for my own students. This experience definitely put me in a position of a beginner. I struggled with most concepts, I failed and tried again, and I felt the frustration of not getting it right away. However, by accessing tutorials and supplemental learning aids along with my persistence and commitment, I successfully completed the course. Now that I have completed this course, I hope to keep the momentum going. After learning what Java is and how it's used in the world of computer programming, I realized that HTML or Python might be a coding language more aligned with my abilities and interests. My son and husband are both adept coders, so if I choose to learn either of these coding languages, I know I'll have the support at home beyond the online course itself. I also hope to use this learning experience as an inspiration for my students to try new things and to think in interdisciplinary ways. I'm proud of myself for stepping outside of my comfort zone, and I feel like having experienced the ups and downs of being a true beginner will only allow me to connect and empathize with the students who are stretching their own knowledge bases. Taking Codecademy's Learn Java course reminded me that growth starts with discomfort, that logic and creativity aren't opposites, and that stretching my comfort zone to try something new will only do me good in the end. Yes, I have a certificate of completion from Codecademy, but I'm taking away much more than a document from this experience. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and I'll leave with saying that if you've been thinking about learning something outside of your lane, I encourage you to go for it.